بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد Allah Azza wa Jal has countless favors and bounties on His slaves, physical and material bounties, and then spiritual and sentimental bounties. Ramadan is a bounty of both types. It is a rahmah for the human body, and because of the acts that follow, Ramadan is a rahmah, it's a mercy for the entire human race. Through Ramadan, people learn about the ability of self-restraint. People learn how to be patient. People practice being generous, being clement, merciful, kind. And the effects of this flow into society at large, having an immense impact on Muslims and non-Muslims all around the world. Ramadan is a mercy for Muslims and it's a mercy for non-Muslims. It's a mercy for the body, it's a mercy for the mind, and of course, the soul. The message of Ramadan begins with us getting closer to our holy book, the Quran. It is in this month that we have an attachment with the Quran that we usually don't have for the rest of the year. In our own recitation, in reading translations and commentaries, in listening to talks explaining the Quran, and of course in praying Salat al-Tarawih, where many people, millions and millions of people around the globe listen to the entire Quran from beginning to end and have a chance to immerse themselves in the recitation of the Quran. And the Quran, from Surah Al-Fatiha to Surah An-Nas, is a message for mankind. هذا بلاغ للناس. This is a message to be conveyed to all of mankind. Bayanul linnas. It's an explanation for people. And the Quran continues to speak to us. And the message of the Quran to us is timeless. It's not limited to one place, to one part of the world, to one era of history. Its teachings, its message transcend beyond the limits of countries and continents and transcends beyond the limits of time, epochs and eras. The message of the Quran is for every single one of us, no matter how many times we have read it, or listened to it, or studied it. Every time the Quran asks us to do something, even if we're already doing it, we look at that message, think about it. What does the Quran want me to do now that I'm already doing it? Allah says, Aqimus Salah, for example. Establish Salah. So I could look back at myself and say, I'm already establishing Salah. The Quran says, فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْ. Whoever is present in the month of Ramadan and able to fast must fast. وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. Go for Hajj if you are capable. and so on and so forth. The wrong approach for a Muslim would be to look at this and say, I'm already doing it. The right approach would be that yes, I may be doing it, but how can I improve it? الَّذِينَ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقَوْلَ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ أَحْسَنَهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises those who listen to the words of Allah and then they try to fulfill them to the best of their ability, to the highest degree. There is salat and then there is salat. There's a salat of a person who is praying and just going through the motions, not knowing what he did from the time he started till the time he completed. And then there is a salat of someone who is praying and trying to concentrate, sometimes able to do so, sometimes unable. And then there is a salat of someone who is able to make this prayer into a full, complete form of meditation. And from beginning to end, they are completely immersed and absorbed in this prayer, carefully thinking about everything that they're uttering, carefully considering the interaction that's taking place between them and their Lord, and using that to make them a better person every single time they pray. The trouble with us is not that we are completely neglectful of the commandments of Allah. Alhamdulillah, there are many people in the ummah that are striving even today to fulfill the commandments in the Quran. The trouble with the practicing Muslim is that they very quickly reach the conclusion that I'm already doing it, I've already done it, and what I'm doing is good enough. And when we do that, we close upon ourselves the doors of increasing what we're doing. We close upon ourselves the doors of improvement, and we close upon ourselves the doors of further understanding. This Quran is an ocean. We could study it all our lives. We could read 100 tafsirs. We're still barely scratching the surface. This is an ocean that has no shore. Similarly, every act of worship in Islam has many, many dimensions. What needs to happen is we set actual targets and goals for ourselves that lead us on the path of improvement. It's not about doing them, we're already doing them. Now it's about how we can improve. And Ramadan, the biggest thing about Ramadan is improvement. It's not about going through the motions. It's about improving what you were doing and starting to do those things that you were not doing. A Muslim does not ever come to a point in life where they feel what they're doing is good enough. The attitude that the Quran teaches us is first strive. Strive to do things the best possible way that you can. And when you've done them, thank Allah for having given you the ability to do it. But at the same time, ask forgiveness for your own shortcomings in regards to that deed, and continue trying to improve. Our Prophet ﷺ used to stand in Salat at night time till his feet would swell up. People said that, why are you exerting yourself so much? All your previous and future omissions and commissions have been pardoned. He said, well, if that's the case, then should I not express my gratitude to the Allah who has done that for me? The Prophet ﷺ teaches us that continue asking Allah for forgiveness, because I also ask Allah for forgiveness 100 times every day. So Ramadan is all about improvement. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not change the conditions of a people until they change themselves. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah does not change a people's conditions until they change themselves. So Ramadan is about changing ourselves. Everyone in Ramadan spread their hands out in front of Allah and appealed to His mercy, appealed to His forgiveness, appealed to Him to change our state, to better our conditions, to help those that are needy, to remove the affliction from the afflicted, to remove oppression from the oppressed. Every single person was making these du'as. But even while we are making these du'as, Allah is looking at us to see what have we changed in ourselves. These same people that are making the du'as, how much have they changed? So sometimes it's good to simplify things, and I'm going to try to simplify things for us. As far as the Quran is concerned, for many people it's an overwhelming project to try to study the whole Quran. My request to you is take one surah. Just take one surah and study it. Read its meaning, read its explanation from authentic tafsirs, try to understand it and try to implement it. I don't think it's an unreasonable goal. Take one surah, any surah, no matter how short or how long it is. Start from here, and you will see that this one surah will open up the doors of many, many good things for you. All of the Quran guides towards the same thing. إِنَّ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ يَهْدِي لِلَّتِي هِيَ أَقْوَمُ. This Quran is always going to guide you to the straightest of paths. So no matter where you pick it up from and study it, it's going to lead you in the same direction. But start somewhere. And don't tell yourself, I don't have time, I'm too busy. Everyone has time to take one surah and start studying it and trying to understand it and trying to implement it. Is this an unreasonable request? Is this unreasonable? It's not. The second thing is, let's all take one thing in our lives. One thing, just one, and try to change it. Identify just one element in your life that may be holding you back in some way, in a worldly matter or in a religious matter. Change one thing about the way we do things. Change one habit of ours. Maybe people have reminded us of it. Maybe our spouse has told us that we have such and such bad habit. Maybe it was our co-workers, maybe it was our siblings, maybe it was our friends. And we've heard this a few times, that I need to improve such and such thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be a huge thing. One thing. Take one thing that needs improvement and change it from today. Not think about it, plan it. Something that you can change starting right now. Change it. The beauty of doing this is that in many cases, people who've changed one thing in their life are able to change many things in their lives. People who are not able to make one adjustment are often not able to make any adjustments. Take one thing, one habit of yours, something that Allah doesn't like, a habit pertaining to being lazy, a habit pertaining to being rude, a habit pertaining to being counterproductive, being excessive, being wasteful, being overly aggressive, being angry, being impatient. The list goes on and on. Just take one thing and change it. And it could even be a small habit about your daily routine. Something about your daily routine that is holding you back, or it's a reflection of laziness or carelessness. Change that one thing. You will find there is so much barakah, there is so much khair in starting the process of change. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold your hand and keep moving you forward. It's always the first step that's the most difficult. The third thing is that many of the men folk had great opportunities to spend time in the masjid, to pray Taraweeh, and to take a good amount of spiritual nourishment. However, many of our women folk did not have those opportunities. Some of it, our sisters did not necessarily have those opportunities. Some of that, are you able to hear me back there? Good. Some of this was the fault of the men who kept them busy in khidmah all Ramadan. Let's be honest. You gotta cook this, these are our requests, we need this kind of menu. And the day that those particular things were not prepared, it doesn't feel like Ramadan. As if Ramadan fasting depends on pakorde or samosa or whatever your thing is. So we kept the women busy in khidmah, and only those women who were extremely, extremely brave, dedicated, tireless, they were able to really push themselves in worship. Sometimes this creates an imbalance in the family. The man is moving towards becoming more religious. He is moving towards higher morals. He's moving towards developing more of a spirituality. But the woman is just doing what basically she's doing in the house. So on one side, we start having higher expectations from them when they are not spiritually ready for those expectations. We haven't given them that chance. And we may have been listening to lectures and participating in programs that they were not. Yet we hold them to the same standard. So we owe it to the women folk in our families that we make some proper arrangements for them. We facilitate them and give them those opportunities through which they can learn deen and through which they can also be spiritually satisfied and nourished. Otherwise, the men folk will have to give some very serious accounts to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment. And it's just not fair. It's not fair that we do not take our women along with us on this journey towards spirituality, on this journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on this journey towards enlightenment, on this journey towards knowledge. We don't take them along. There's a serious imbalance in the family and it harms everyone. So we need to start thinking about this very seriously. About educating our sisters and about providing for them an environment through which they can grow in their deen and they can reach the same level or even a higher level than us. The last point and the last request is that everyone knows that we are going through different kinds of trials as an ummah. We are going through different kinds of tribulations. And in many circles, Islam is it has become a very controversial subject. And because of that, even many Muslims are having difficulty in holding on to their deen. Or at least they're having trouble presenting themselves as Muslims, identifying themselves as Muslims. So my dear brothers and sisters, in the face of these challenges, you and I, need to become more firm in our deen. It doesn't matter what part of the world you live in, especially in a country like the one we're living in right now, where every religion, every faith is equal, and everyone has the right to practice their religion to the fullest extent. You and I have nothing to fear about. We have nothing to be scared about when it comes to our religious beliefs, practices, and identity. And this argument or this discussion about diluting your religion because you live in a Western country, it's completely useless and it's completely counterproductive. If you start doing that, then you are contributing to the people around you misunderstanding your religion. You owe it to these people that you practice your deen to the fullest and you explain to them as you're going along what you're doing. You share it with your neighbors. You share it with your co-workers, with your schoolmates, with your friends. You share it with the world. Otherwise, they will never understand it. So it's time that every single one of us, every man, every woman, started acting like an ambassador of Islam. When Muslims stop representing Islam, then people come, they fill the void and they start misrepresenting Islam. That's when fringe groups, extremists, and other people will come in and start presenting Islam from their own narrative, which none of us agrees with, which none of us can relate to, which none of us understands. But there it is being presented as if it is the values of Muslims and Islam. The only thing that can correct this course is us. We have to take agency of our own deen, talking about it, teaching it, representing it, and we need to become our own spokespersons. If we don't become our own spokespersons, then there are other people waiting to do that. And there are also other people waiting to present Islam as if it is something that's going to negatively impact society. To present Islam as if it's incompatible with Western culture or Western society. To present Islam as if it's incompatible with today, period. So we need to start playing a more active role. And everyone's going to do it differently. Not everyone's going to get on the mic and start talking about Islam. But you don't need a mic and you don't need a congregation in front of you to be a representative or an ambassador of Islam. You are an ambassador of Islam. You are a representative of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wherever you go. It's just a matter of starting to behave that way. Being ready to share, being ready to understand your religion first, and being ready to explain it when you need to explain it, or at least help people come to those sources that can explain it. And in this way, most of the problem will be solved. The problem will not be solved by us going into little corners, by us receding into the shadows, by us covering up our identity and pretending we're not who we actually are. That's not going to make the problem go away. That's going to make the problem more complicated, and it's going to make it worse for the generations to come. So be proud of your heritage as a Muslim. Be proud of your identity as a Muslim, and share it with the world. So these are a few things that needed to be shared at this point. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our fasting, accept our worships, accept our prayers, our charities, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through the collective worship and prayer of all of us around the world, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shower His mercies upon us. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unite us. This was the last thing that I wanted to mention. We need to be more united. We need to be unified. It's easy to find things that will divide you. It's easy to find things that will separate you. What we need to do is hold on to the things that keep us together. It is a great injustice to our faith to use small issues, minor issues, to create parties and groups and divisions within the Muslim Ummah. And it is extremely counterproductive to utter statements that are divisive, to start labeling people. Oh, you're of that group, you're of that type. The masajid belong to Allah. They are for the worship of Allah. There is and always has been a diversity within mainstream Islam. There always has been. From the time of Sahaba radiyallahu anhum ajma'een, there has been diversity in the Ummah. But that diversity in worships, in methodology of worships, and so on and so forth, what we call fiqh today, that never became a source of division or sectarianism within the Muslim ummah. But today that's what's started to happen. On one side you have people that are giving divisive statements from the mimbar, from the pulpit. And on the other side you have people that are all too ready to take that message. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unify us, strengthen us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, protect our children, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us and our progenies to continue to prosper in this country and all around the world. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from every type of harm, from every type of mischief, and from all of those who intend to cause harm. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'een. We'll just have a few announcements, and then I'm going to explain to you the method of salat.